Hello there folks, this is Ferenc on board again, this time with a video that I would want to entitle as a different series. This would be a series that I'd want to call as Wisdom for Youth or Wisdom for the Youth. This would be what I would try to be, to make something like, videos specifically for youngsters and teenagers because they are somewhat the more vulnerable aspect of society, and well, if I keep up with it I might draw attention of them, like more and more. Now the point is with such videos is that I'm kind of seeing that the generations of nowadays, and even my generation, although I'm almost 13, the 90th generation, we are kind of called the fucked up generation. So the point is, there's barely anyone in our life that teaches us what we need to do. Parents don't do it because in their own turn they weren't taught, and their own parents again, they weren't taught by others. So as a child, what you see your parents do, you kind of consider them as your gods, right? So you kind of do whatever they're doing, and they don't necessarily need to scold you, which also happens, but you see, the point is, as a matter of fact, what I specifically want to say is that the auras of people will always influence you as well. Basically, it's not necessarily that a person has to take you into account specifically. They don't have to swear or curse around you. It was also scientifically proven that, when people stay around you, you take some of their thoughts depending on your own personal vibration. Now, what a personal vibration is, it's basically, let's say, like a frequency. Now, the frequency itself, you see, it is a bit different because we have a few vibrations, let's say, but the personal vibration is one that goes up and down. It's kind of never the same, okay? It goes up, it goes down based on your mental state, your emotional state, your physical state, your physical health, let's say, and again, what thoughts you have. Now, probably if you don't know, I've actually spoken it in other videos. Most of your thoughts also, and as well as emotions, don't actually belong to you, but you see, when things are manifested, they act as a kind of a shockwave that goes from the source. Mainly if someone is angry, even if they don't say it, they still bombard the surrounding with lower vibrations, okay, with anger and probably disgust, probably other such lower emotions, probably hatred, and these bombardments constantly go out like shockwaves from them. Imagine this like once per second, probably even faster than that, okay? And based on your emotions, your aura can become greater or can become smaller because you see, people who have very great traumas, their auras can extend for a quite large area. I heard that people who have gone, for example, through sexual abuse can have auras as large as 20 meters, okay, somewhat in diameter, okay. They're not a perfect circle though, they're not a perfect sphere around the individual. Now, it has been proven, scientifically even, that when people enter, when people are close one to the other, their auras will always interact. And considering the aura is a magnetic field created by our heart, being the most stable magnetic field in the realm of nature, well, let's say, except the magnetic field of the earth and technological ones, but the point is, it is a very stable field, okay, and it is a very lively one, being capable to change very, very fast. Now, emotions are something else. Emotions, usually we get them from other people, and one thing that most people won't tell you is that you will feel emotions usually when there is enough of them, when there is a lot of them actually, because you don't feel happiness, and also neither do you feel hatred or sadness until you have enough of it. Now, again, no one will actually tell you how to actually rid yourself of these. And well, these are aspects that I'd be interested in covering over what I would desperately, almost not necessarily desperately, but I'd definitely want to make as very short videos. And considering how much I over deliver, that's kind of gonna be a problem in its own sense, not necessarily a problem. So a simple point is, this video today I want to discuss a bit about words, because you see, English and every other language is what we can call a construct. Okay, English is specifically a construct, namely a structure that was designed for use later on. It's not necessarily something that you want to use now. It's gonna help, or it's gonna have certain effects far later into the future. Now there are different words and different phrases in English that have what is called a subconscious manifestation. Basically, when you say those words, you are transmitting your subconscious mind a different message than that which you think. Now the video today is gonna be focused on three of these words, and these are words that we kind of say but we don't know the subconscious mechanic. Okay, and I'm gonna refer to the words written above: want, needs, and welcome. Okay, now theoretically they would be synonyms, but to the subconscious mind they act much differently. Okay, now what is the subconscious mind? The subconscious mind, you'll see a lot of definitions. Basically what I see it as, and well, in case you don't know me, I'm a person who's been highly introspective for at least 15 years, and many of the answers that have come to me because, well, I'm conscious of the fact that there are forces out there who would want to help me. Okay, and well, to speak even further, I prefer to call this as divine guidance, more or less. Okay, consider it as you will. Now I know it has proven its effect to me, and well, I won't uh, I won't mind if people simply will not accept it. I expect actually a lot of resistance, because we are taught to live life kind of everything but the way we feel like, and anything that we kind of want to do. Okay, like ever since we are young we are taught all sorts of things. Okay, and usually not the things that we want, not the things that we should. Okay, we are taught to kind of, fight against nature and our own selves. Now the point with want, need, and welcome, well, the subconscious mind and how I see it is what I would call the let's say the compiler of a programming language. Okay, so what I call mind code is basically the fundamental, let's say, coding, okay, that our existence has. Just like in programming, in order for a program to work, it has some background code that puts every piece together and also gives it the functionality that it has. Behind that software there is the programming, the coding for the computer to work. Okay, and this reality also has a code of its own, which I prefer calling as the universal code of existence, or the universal laws of existence. Now, as a part of ourselves, the subconscious mind is a very broad part of ourselves, much larger, almost infinite part, infinite source of existence. It is a part of ourselves that is also interconnected. So in this part we have, let's call it like this, traveler energies. Okay, and these energies are what we call thoughts. They come from different dimensions, they come from different people, they go from person to person, usually seeking the most compatible people. When you suddenly feel something, I called it the pendulum effect. You should see that video, I already made one, or there are other videos on the internet as well. And the pendulum effect, well, I'm not gonna explain it in here, but it is, let's say, that these thoughts, once someone creates them and sends them through a certain source, like for example YouTube, anyone that thinks of that person, they themselves kind of become like a gravitational force. Now about the subconscious mind, it's what I call the compiler. Okay, and unlike the conscious mind, the mind which we use to think, the subconscious mind does not have any protection. It doesn't have any walls that will protect it from unwanted words and phrases, and therefore you have to take great care what you say, because your subconscious mind will act on your reality based on what you think. So if you think a lot about negativity, that you suck, you are never good enough and as such, chances are your life will actually get miserable, because the subconscious mind will focus all your existence on whatever you say. Now with the mind, when people say that you suck, you can actually counteract them and bring them proof. You can actually show them, you can actually tell them, or you can actually, train your mind to simply no longer take them into account. I'll also make a video on ignorance and why it isn't a good thing. Now, as I said, the subconscious mind accepts everything the way it comes, okay? So basically, it is just like with code. The way you write your code, it will be executed the way it is. No other possible interpretations, okay? Now, when you say these words, want, need, and welcome, there is a big difference in between them. Vibrationally speaking, want is a very aggressive term. When you say want to your subconscious mind, it installs a very great need, a very great sense of misfortune, okay? Want is a word that is used by manipulators. Usually you will see this in advertisements. Usually you will see this in manipulation techniques. Like literally anyone who wants to manipulate you will have you say that you want something. So take this word as usually coming to your mind as a virus, okay? You don't want things, usually. When you want something, it is a big need that arises into your mind, but it is not yours. It is a virus of the mind, let's call it so. And memes, for example, are such a virus. I also have a video on that, the dark effect of memes, or something like that. The dark side of memes, I think. So when you say want, basically in your subconscious mind, you will create a problem, okay? You will create a status in which you are gonna feel miserable if you don't have that specific thing. It could be a skin in a video game, it could be money, it could be fortune, it could be something physical, like, I don't know, a toy, anything, okay? And when you say want, you're basically telling your subconscious mind to become somewhat more and more desperate about that, okay? And this in a way lowers your vibration the more you think of it. Now the subconscious mind works also in the form of loops. Any word, any thought that you create in your mind is basically a loop that will repeat in the subconscious mind. Now the subconscious mind is separate from the conscious one. That is why most of the things that come to your mind, they come to the conscious mind after a while of being in the subconscious mind, and usually they come when you have a certain vibration. That is why when you are feeling very sad, you won't necessarily have positive ideas pop into your mind, and usually vice versa. When you're too happy for something, you'll probably not remember the times of misery. There are some exceptions, of course. I mean, mind code is not as strict as programming languages, but you kind of get an idea, okay? So a loop is basically something that repeats, okay? Just like imagine music, okay? Music has that repetitive beat. That repetitive beat is used to defeat some of the natural resistances of the mind, and is used to actually enter your mind, and through that repetitiveness it claims a spot in your mind. Once it does that, it's pretty hard to remove it. That is why some songs, or especially advertisements, right, they are hard to forget, because they are specifically manufactured to aggress your mind and have you understand an idea that you want something, okay? Now that want is actually a tendency, and it might actually become something that is called lust. Now people may understand that lust is sexual, but lust is not necessarily sexual, okay? Lust means a sensation that you lack something, and you must actually fight for that, else you will be miserable. But the misery that you're starting to feel actually comes from within yourself, because you're not focusing your resources on something that could actually improve you. You're creating yourself a problem which is false from the beginning, because you're creating it. You're believing it, and then you're fighting to solve it. It's a basic technique of manipulation. Okay, through this you can actually control people very well, and this actually also lowers their vibration and kind of turns people somewhat narcissistic, because narcissists are very desperate about wanting something, and also they don't have patience for that. That is why patience is something that most people lack nowadays, because everything they do is they just want things, and society works by, giving you the smallest salaries possible, so you can't afford much, so you desperately want them, and the desperation increases more and more, and so will your misery. Now the idea of need is a more it's slightly different as a word, because it depends more on the vibration at which you are using it, because need can be almost as desperate as want, but usually need is more like a self-enforcing word. Okay, when you say need, you feel more like empowering yourself, or at least tending towards an empowerment. Okay, when people say want, you'll see that people who usually say want, they won't do much towards that anyways. Okay, you will see people, I want to have 2 million subscribers on YouTube, I want to be just like that person. Okay, but their want is more like a passive state. Okay, they want to do stuff, but most likely I bet you they won't necessarily do it. Okay, now need on the other hand is it depends. It can be almost as simple as want, in terms of just I need to do that, but not necessarily do it. Okay, but usually need is more of an urgency. Okay, want is more like stable. Okay, it's complacency. Okay, people are complacent usually when they say want. Okay, they are okay with their situation even if it sucks, like literally and horribly sucks. They are still okay with that, because most likely they will be afraid of whatever it takes to do something else, right? And this point is, well, what's called the fear of the unknown, one of the strongest fears in this universe. Probably on our planet, I don't know exactly, but in this world it's considered the strongest fear of all. Now it also depends per individual. Now, when you say need, usually it is used as a self-empowerment. When you say need, you have an emergency. You have something that kind of urges you to do well, a set of actions, a set of steps, or whatever, in order to achieve something. Okay, so you can actually feel a difference in vibration. When people say want, they kind of won't be doing anything. When you see people that they say need, well, when they say need, subconsciously you should understand that those persons are kind of, at least subconsciously, they are looking for a um, you know for a way out of a certain situation. Okay, and one thing you have to understand is that in economics it is well known that people will always buy their way out of something, not their way into something. That is something very critical to know, because manipulation will always be based on that, and it will make the difference in between how you use your mind code. Will you use want, or will you use need? Of course, some people, or most people, won't necessarily be that aware. Okay, and when they say want or need, it's gonna be the same thing for them. But even if you are aware or not, well, your subconscious mind still works the same way. If you become introspective enough, and well, I can actually present myself as proof of that, but it's okay if you don't believe me. If you become introspective enough and you see how your subconscious mind works, you will see that you will have literally no problem understanding other people, because their subconscious mind will work the same as yours. The conscious mind is the difference, because every person has a different background. Okay, so people will definitely function differently. Okay, they will have different understanding over the same words as you, but they will have slightly different understanding of that word based on their backgrounds. That is why when I get to talk with people and they present some fuzzy words or concepts that can be easily interpretable, I usually ask them, what do you understand by that? Okay, and in some cases it's kind of polite to ask, because different countries might have different opinions. Okay, so the background of individuals usually is very important. Now, if you have been hearing about the law of attraction, and things like that. Usually when you want things, when want is more like a synonym of crave, which is highly aggressive and lower vibrational, and lower vibrations usually block positive ones. That is why the world is kept in a narcissistic state. You will see narcissism literally everywhere. People posting fake photos of them on Instagrams and all sorts of social media, okay, and other people being so sad that those people have theoretically great lives, but most likely they are still very, very miserable. Okay? Now, the point with the law of attraction is to use welcome. Because welcoming, when you say welcome, you actually remove resistance and you actually allow things to come into your life. Now, the way welcome works, it's you don't necessarily need to create yourself affirmations. You can actually say, I welcome abundance into my life, but you see, things don't come into your life by wanting them. Okay, they start coming into your life when you need them, because when you feel an urge towards that, you'll definitely put your ass to work, and when you start working towards them, they will actually come sooner or later into your life. Because the point is, when you say welcome, and in most cases it won't work, because when you say welcome, it's not enough to just say welcome. When you say welcome, you have to do one of the trickiest things ever. Okay, you have to trust the process. I've learned this kind of the hard way, because I'm a person who puts a lot of resistance. And as I'm working towards my video game, in case you're curious about that, you can watch my videos and see. I kept working hours and hours on end towards that. Okay, and the point was, I was getting so frustrated at times that I wouldn't get ideas. But through overworking, I was actually doing that. Okay, because I was wanting to solve the problems. Now recently I started saying, I actually need to take notes, because I created a lot of switches, I created a lot of command lines and events, and I kind of was on the verge of becoming like almost totally confused, because I simply couldn't understand why the coding would just not work. So I kept telling myself, I need to take notes and see this. These switches are in here, these switches do this, and I always put notes and say, hey, this does this, these switches do this, and these are for this event, and these do this specific thing, because, well, I create a lot of complexity. I cannot create simplicity. That's one of my gifts. Now, as of late, I have been working like very, very little, like the last 3 days, and all I can say is that I like instantly found the mistakes, and it's like I knew, it was like I was guided towards the mistakes, and like ideas came so fast, because my mind was finally released of that stress of overthinking. Okay, when I said welcome, okay, I actually welcomed the results. Okay, and now I think this second part that I was working on is complete. It should work finally as intended, and I actually started working on the third without fully testing the second one, which I'll also do as well. But you see, I have to welcome the results. Like, as long as you want things, it's not bad, but you have to be more aware. When you need things, you'd better need them, but also work towards them, because that's how things come. Now, to give you a last thing before I wrap up this video, the point is, when you trust the process, just do the work towards it. Don't focus and don't worry about that. I think I also have a video on worrying. I don't know if it's specifically about worrying, but I spoke about that in a video. The point is, do not worry about that, because worry is just like want. It's a very low vibration, and it will do nothing else than simply block out all the positive gifts that different forces in this world actually want to give you. You're probably still not aware that there are so many forces around you that want to they want to help you more or less sooner or later. But the point is, if you're not aware of these, and well, you've listened to this video up till now, chances are you are, but you either don't want to accept it, or you're either, in most cases, confused enough because everyone has been teaching you otherwise. Through this series, I'm interested in helping the youth understand themselves better and, well, take a more introspective approach, especially now with the Kant virus that keeps us in homes, there is so much more time for this. Now, think about want, need, and welcome just like a simple situation, okay? When you invite your friends home, this actually tells a lot about yourself. Like, how will you proceed with them? You want them in your house, which means you're kind of aggressive and somewhat desperate. You need them in your house, which means that, you want to improve certain relations. When you say need, there's always something behind it, okay? There's usually a necessity because that's why you say need. And when you say welcome, it's like you completely open the door and, okay, they are fully welcome into your house. So you can become a bit more introspective about this. I actually urge you to. It's okay if you do not agree to what I say. When the time comes and the reconnection with the forces that are going to help you in your life comes, you will actually start seeing the signs, and who knows, maybe you will come back to my channel for more videos. There will definitely be more, but you can also find other sources. If you like this type of content, feel free to like and subscribe if you want, or at least share them with your friends so that we help, elevate the consciousness of this world, okay? Because people until now haven't been taught how to behave, how to take care of their children. And what they've done is replicate their parents and become as well abusive, and in some cases even more, and it's been a vicious cycle that's been going on for like thousands of years. It is our generations now that have to, start cleansing this and learn better ways of taking care first of ourselves, okay? Because if I were to pass a law in society, that would be, if you cannot take care of yourself, you shouldn't have children. That is kind of the one law that I would pass, okay? Now, until next time, I'm looking forward to hearing your opinion. Ferenc Board signing out.